Yes, my fellow people, welcome back to the channel. Now, I wasn't expecting to do this stream at all. It's a bit of an emergency one, I suppose, and it's nothing to do with excitement or wow, wow, wow. It's just news, transfer news, breaking news that Arsenal have bid for a striker. Believe it or not, everybody was shocked and thought that they would be looking at other areas, or potentially they'd be looking at doing absolutely nothing in the last few days. The negativity and toxicity, as people call it, um, has been spoken about. I must say though, this one does surprise me. It surprised me for a number of reasons. Um, I don't know much about this player that we bid for, but apparently there's a lot of people saying on Twitter and on News Now and on lots of links that I've looked at, that we have bid £22 million for Boya Mayoral. Now, Boya Mayoral is not a striker that I've heard much about. He is from Getafe. He is a centre forward that is 6 foot. He's 26 years old, and he's been at Real Madrid. He was at Real Madrid in the B team. He got 17 goals in 38 games. Looking at his Wikipedia page, he then got 3 goals for Real Madrid before going out on loan to Wolfsburg, where he got a couple of goals. Levante in 2018 to 2020 on loan, where he got 11 goals in 60 games. And then he went to Roma on loan, 10 goals in 36 games. Then he went to Getafe on loan in the 2022 season and got 6 goals in 18 games. And he's here being looked at by Arsenal since a few months now, apparently. And apparently he has scored, and I'm looking now, 20 goals in 54 games for Getafe. Now, this is not something that I believe would excite many Arsenal fans, if I'm honest with you. It's not Ivan Toney. It is not Victor Osimhen. It's not Evan Ferguson. It's not Benzema. It's not Mitrovic. All of the names that I've been hearing over the last couple of days. It's a player that no one expected. £22 million is the rumour. Boya Mayoral. Anybody know anything about him? Please explain if anyone does. Apparently, we've been scouting him for a while. We've liked him for a while. It has been rejected, from what I'm being told. £22 million is not enough for Mayoral. It is looking to be a £39 million. Would be looked to be accepted. So they want closer to 40 million. Are we going to pay that? I'm not so sure. Is he a bad player from what I'm being told? I've spoken to a few friends of mine who watch La Liga football. They quite like him. They say he's been an all right player. Getafe play very differently to Arsenal from what I know. And he's given a lot of space and he scored a few goals. He's not going to be given a lot of space at Arsenal. So Arsenal don't get given space. Look at the way we've been playing up against. It's all been low blocks. It's all been two people against Saka, two on Martinelli, and most of the time Jesus is trying to find some space. So what will this player do for Arsenal? Well, listen, it's a striker that we are looking at, and that to me means perhaps people that were crying about Ivan Toney's not going to come. Ivan Toney, if we buy him, then it's going to be Victor Osimhen. We won't be able to get him in the summer, blah, blah, blah. Well, if we sign this guy, Mayoral, are we going to get another one in the summer? So I think it's all absolute guff what people are saying there. Is it a rumor that I believe in? I don't know. I've got no reason not to believe it. A few of the outlets are saying it. When I look at News Now, there's a lot of rumors going around that it is actually, there's what, Give Me Sport, there's TBR Football, Football Fancast, Trivia, Ask Blog, obviously, Daily Cannon, Guna Talk, Metro. So all of the, I don't want to say guff sources, but all of the sources that you don't go to. You don't go to the Romanos, Ornsteins and Sky Sports, but all of the other rumours are suggesting that we have had a bid rejected of 22 million for the striker. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that I know much about him, but what I will say is it's interesting for me that we are putting in a bid. That to me suggests that Jesus and Eddie Nketiah are not enough for Mikel Arteta this season. And maybe next season we might look at doing something. But right now in this window, I think he has concerns. Now, the other reason could be that we're looking to get rid of Eddie Nketiah. Now, Crystal Palace are interested in Eddie Nketiah. I keep hearing 20 million, 20 million, 25 million, 20 million. I keep hearing it. I think personally, I would take that. However, a lot of people are saying, no way. Jackson was 35 million, Nicholas Jackson. Cole Palmer went for 40 million. We want closer to 35. Listen, I think if someone offers 25 million for Eddie Nketiah, it's fair. You know, he's not an unbelievably good striker. He's not one I look at and think, wow, he could go to the top level. Crystal Palace, he might get a few goals, but he's not going to do anything there that I look at and go, wow, which would have kept him. So it could be that Jesus, which I'll come back to in a minute, because there's an update on his injury. Eddie Nketiah is going to be sold, and we're going to bring in Mayoral, who's going to replace Eddie Nketiah this month. We really don't know what's happening. It's all rumours at the moment, and it's all up in the air. But I thought I'd jump on and see what people's thoughts are of it. I mean, does anybody in the chat know anything about him? That's my first question. I've spoken to people over in the Liga that watch their Liga football just to try and get an idea of what he's about. I don't know much about him. I really don't. But of course, he is the rumor at the moment. He's the one apparently we bid for. And I will reiterate, it has been rejected. And Getafe do want closer to 40 million euros. So I don't think this one's going to happen if Arsenal have to go up to that high, because for me, you need to go and be putting that money towards a striker that you know is going to be less of a risk. How many Spanish strikers come over to the Premier League at that sort of money and absolutely kill it? Not really that many that I can think of. You know, centre forwards from Spain, Fernando Torres, he cost much more than that. Diego Costa, likewise, cost much more than that. And somebody had already said that they likened this to Lucas Perez, who I've literally just seen this come in the chat now. Lucas Perez 2.0. It does sound very similar to that, doesn't it? It's not a player that I look at and go, wow. And Lucas Perez is not one that I looked at and thought was bad. But when he left Arsenal, where is he now? I mean, what did he actually do? What did he go on to do? Not a lot is the answer. Not a lot. So listen, I'm not going to start slating the rumour. I don't know much about him. I always make sure that I don't go, oh, because we've done that before, haven't we? Yeah. When I was growing up, I'd never heard of Friedrich Lagunjberg. I couldn't even say his name. And when Freddie Ljungberg come to Arsenal, I thought, who the hell's this? And he was unbelievable. Yeah. Didn't really know much about Robert Pires. Didn't know too much about Terry Henry. Yeah. Didn't know much about Petit or Vieira or Mark Overmars. So I've done it before. Yeah. I've done it before and I've gone, what the hell's gone on here? Oh, they're brilliant. I don't know what this guy is like. I have no idea. And if I'm honest with you, it doesn't surprise me that we link with someone that I'm not sure on. I don't know if it's lazy scouting or lazy journalism or lazy analysis, but for me, I don't personally feel like this is a signing that we will go, wow, we're happy here. But you've got to let the recruitment team do their job. You've got to let the scouting do their job. We've seen other teams before, like Brighton, for example, pick players out and then they turn them into absolutely superb players. So you have to trust your scouting, of course, but this is not a player that I look at and think, wow, Arsenal are ready to win the title now. So some people might sit there and think, well, you're never happy. You want a striker, now they're bidding for one and you're not happy with who it is. I'm not saying that. I don't know what the guy is like. He might come to Arsenal and be the next king. He might come to Arsenal and be a flop. I have absolutely no idea where we're at here personally, but I do feel that it's a very interesting piece of news, which is why I've jumped on, because I feel personally like striker was on everybody's radar, but I don't feel deep down many people thought the club would look at it like that. And I think the way that things have happened with Jesus getting injured and the fact that we're not scoring at the moment, I don't know how we can't not be. So it's a really interesting piece of news if this is to be correct, which I'm being told it is. So listen, it's a cheap deal. If it does go through, or if it's something that we're looking at potentially going in again for now that it's been rejected for first offer, if it does go through again with a bigger offer, then we can start to talk about it again. But at the moment, it has been rejected. £22 million for Mayoral, and I'm not going to lie, I don't know much about him at all. So I have to see what happens. Boya Mayoral. Does anybody know who that is? Please let me know. I must say, do some YouTube compilations now. I'm sure he'll look like Lionel Messi. It was funny because earlier on I did that for Dragusin, who's a guy that Tottenham have bought. I knew nothing about him and he looked like Cannavaro. I also did that with Mustafi and learned my lesson. So let's not do it. Boya Mayoral, you can't be serious. Yep, a lot of people are saying that we're not really sure who he is. John Thompson says, I'd take Werner over Mayoral. Useless player. The Smoke says, never heard of him, Dan. Patrick says, Dan putting in a shift, streaming 24/7 now. It feels like it at the moment, bro, I must say. I thought I was done for the day. I did my couple of streams today, and I did about 3 in a row thinking, what's happening here on other people's channels, on mine. I thought I'm going to have to come on again now and talk about this because this is breaking news. Who is it? It is Boya Mayoral. I don't know much about him, but he's the Getafe centre forward. £22 million we have bid for. Who knows? Who knows what he's going to be like? I have no idea. Let's have a look. More LB, big up LB, if that is actually you. I don't know if that's you. It's LB or more LB, or is it both of you? 12 goals in 19 league goals this season. Good, to be fair. Yeah, apparently he's on fire this season. That's why I've been linked with him. But previously it hasn't been outstanding. It's been like okay, to be fair. Yeah, let's see what happens. Apparently ain't clinical, a bunch of loans from Madrid and never impressed. And it does look that way on Wikipedia. If you look at the amount of loan deals he had from Real Madrid, clearly shone as a youngster, 17 goals in 38 games. It's nothing to be shy about. But actually, when you look at when he was at Madrid, only 3 goals in 20 appearances, which isn't shocking, but it's not great. And he's gone to Wolfsburg, Levante, Roma, and of course Getafe, where he signed in the end. Listen, he's not had terrible seasons there. If you look at it, 17 goals, 3 goals in 22 games, 2 goals in 19 games, 11 goals in 60 games, 10 goals in 36 games, 6 goals in only 18 appearances, and 20 in 54. To be fair, it's not shocking, is it? It's not a shocking return. You don't look at it and think, well, the guy's got like 2 goals in 40 games. You don't look at that. So it's not terrible stats is what I'm getting at. But at the same time, it's not one that I go, wow, this is a great signing. But gotta give these things time. This FFP thing must be a nonsense if we're bidding for 22 million, because you don't go in with 22 million and then go, okay, we'll leave it. Surely we'll go in again, right? 25, 28, we might get closer. They want 39 or 40. Maybe we'll agree on the 30-ish mark and it might go on add-ons. Maybe that's something we're looking at doing. Apparently he's on fire in La Liga, so let's see what happens. I don't know what Getafe are doing in La Liga. I have absolutely no idea. I don't watch La Liga. I never have. If I'm honest with you, I've never looked at La Liga football, and I've just looked at Real Madrid and Barcelona, El Clasico, and that's as far as it goes. Atletico Madrid, I was a big fan of when Simeone was winning things there. He's had a couple of years where he hasn't done, although today he got it pretty close. Listen, I am not majorly excited by it, but at the same time, I'm not going to sit there and start throwing around this guy's useless because I have no knowledge of it. Absolutely no knowledge of it. So this is a big piece of news, man. Big piece of news if this is coming in as a rejection of 22 million. If we go in again, once I find out, we'll jump on and we'll have a chat about it. And that's what it's all about, guys. It's transfer news, it's rumors, it's rumors, it's rumors. Until he does that with an Arsenal shirt, I'm not going to get overly excited by any single signing or rumor until it happens personally. Let's be real. Apparently, Nuances of Fate says, even his YouTube comps look mid. Getafe are the Stoke City of La Liga. They turn any game into a kick fest. MVR says, I've just checked a couple of Mayoral's games, a lot of penalties. Air Max 90 King says, it's not the striker we're all looking to get, is it? Well, we'll see. We'll see. We don't know that yet, do we? We don't know that yet. Best not go over 25 million. I don't really care what we spend on a guy. If we want a player, just go get him. I don't really care. I've been one of these guys, and I've said it quite consistently, that I'm not an Arsenal accountant. I don't, one, know how much we've got in there, and 2, care how much we spend. For me, it's about delivering on the pitch. So it doesn't matter to me whether you're 5 million or you're 65 million. If you're doing a job for Arsenal, I'll say fair play. What doesn't look good is when you spend 65 million on Havertz and 72 on Pepe and they stink the gaff out. That does not look good. So, of course, it matters when you spend the amount of money. I just need to see a return. So if 22 million is the starting bid, we ain't going to just pull away and go, right, we don't want to pay any more than that. Surely we've not been stupid enough to just go in there at 22 and then walk away because they've rejected it. For me, if you're going to go up and say that we need 25 next, 28 yet, there'll be a definite line in the sand with Mikel Arteta, and they do say, no, we're not going to overpay. But let's be real, we're not talking about someone who's going to be going up to 70 or 80 million pounds here, right? We're talking about a player that's been highly rated at the moment, just this season, doing well in the league. I think LB said earlier, 16 goals is what apparently he'd have. Listen, I personally don't see the names such as Solanke, Vlahovic, Ivan Toney, Mitrovic, Benzema, Victor Osimhen, Evan Ferguson, all names that people have been throwing away for a while now. This one kind of makes sense because it's a bit out of the blue. And I think sometimes you'll get that with Arsenal. Once or twice you'll go, whoa, where the hell did that come from? And we've seen that over the years. You know, we've had some shockers in that way, but we've also had some good players like that. You know, I look at when we signed Van Persie, didn't really know who he was. I looked at when we signed Sami Nasri. I looked at when we signed players that you kind of heard of, but didn't know much about how well they do, and they come and they're absolutely surprised. So let's hope that if this does go through, it's something that can add to the quality. Let's be honest, guys, we need a centre forward. Yeah, I said it in all my fan cams in the last few days. I've been on there screaming that Arsenal need a striker. Now, if this guy is going to come into Arsenal, I guarantee he won't be no worse than Eddie Nketiah. That's a fact. If he's gone over to La Liga and he's got that output, yeah, okay, Getafe, not an amazing team. I don't look at Getafe and think, wow, you know, that's the level. Do you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, Eddie Nketiah, let's be real. That's what we've got at the moment. Getafe are 8th in the La Liga. It's not shambles. It's not a bad season for Getafe. I imagine that's about where they expect to be, mid-table-ish. So it's not a bad season, and I imagine his goals have helped there. So Boya Mayoral, I tell you what we'll do now. We'll hear that he's brilliant. Some of this fan base will make out, like they did when we signed Fabio Vieira, that they watch Spanish football and that they've been really intensely involved in Getafe's progress since he's been there. You'll get that. You'll get that from people. They'll get excited and they'll want to try this, make this guy out to be fantastic. If it's somebody that we want, I believe we can get him. I believe that we get him. They want £40 million. We're way off. I mean, we've offered nearly half of what they want, which is in true typical Arsenal style and Arsenal fashion. But let's be real, I reckon we'll be prepared to go to 30 to 35 with add-ons if it was someone that we absolutely wanted. So I expect to see another bid go in if we're serious. So watch this space, people. Watch this space. Let's talk about some injury news, because apparently there is some injury news boosts to both Thomas Partey and Gabriel Jesus, and both are being rumoured by quite a few journalists apparently to be fit for the Nottingham Forest game, which basically means that we just have to play Crystal Palace, and then Partey and Jesus could both be back for the Nottingham Forest game, which is on the 30th of January. So, of course, we have Crystal Palace before that on the 20th, and then we don't play until the 30th of January where we have Nottingham Forest. So if we could have Jesus and Partey back, we've basically got the 11 from last season other than Rice instead of Granit Xhaka. So it could be some good injury news. It could be a massive boost, and it could see Arsenal of old come back. Am I being a bit too optimistic? Yeah, probably I am. I'm more hope than belief, but you get my point. We're going to have Xhaka and Ramsdale as the only two players that will be replaced by Raya and Rice, because you'll have your back four of last season with Zinchenko, White, Gabriel and Saliba. You'll have Partey, Rice and Odegaard, and then Jesus fit with Martinelli and Saka. Let's see where we're at. And could we add this striker from Getafe, Mayoral, to that? It would be better than coming on the bench. Instead, it'll be better than coming off the bench than we've got with Eddie Nketiah, that's for sure. Trossard's still there to come back into the mix, who I always think is quite a good impact player. And then, of course, it goes down to the level of your Nelsons, your Nketiahs, your Smith-Rowes, and the list goes on. So, yeah, interesting piece of news, guys. Really interesting piece of news, and something that I was kind of not expecting this evening. So I wanted to do a quick stream on it and see where your heads were at. Would anybody want to take a punt on this guy? Anybody in the chat believe that this would be worth doing? Does anyone believe that there is enough trust in Mikel Arteta and Edu to get the ones right that we're not quite sure about? Because there's always that doubt, isn't there? I didn't know much about Sambi Lokonga. It didn't work out. I didn't know much about Nuntavage. That didn't work out. I don't know much about Fabio Vieira still. I'm not so sure that one's going to work out. Kai Havertz we can mention, but there's been others like Runnison. To be fair, there's been Pablo Mari. I didn't know much about. to be fair. Marquinhos, I didn't know much about. So the ones that have worked at Arsenal, we kind of knew all about them. Whether we were happy with them or not, there's only really, let's say, Tomiyasu that I'm happy with, where I weren't quite sure about him. Because I knew about Ramsdale, I knew about Ben White, I knew about Zinchenko and Jesus. I was aware of Thomas Partey, and I was aware of Gabriel, funnily enough, as well, because I watched some of him in the French league, and he was one that I highlighted. Again, Odegaard, we all knew about because he was the wonder kid over at Real Madrid. But the ones we're not quite sure about, they haven't really worked, man. So I hope that if it does happen, of course, I'm going to get behind him for a few games, see what he's about, and then make my decision like I have on every other Arsenal player. We're going to leave it there, guys. Keep it short and sweet. Obviously, for those that are just joining, Arsenal have apparently had a bid rejected of £22 million for the Getafe striker, Boya Mayoral. He is 26 years old. He's 6 foot, and his Wikipedia page currently says that he has 20 goals for Getafe in 54 games. Listen, it's there. If you want to believe it, believe it. If you feel like that's something that we're not going to be pursuing after this bid being rejected, you do what you've got to do, man. It's all good. Gary, big up, my bro. Like your content, Dan, fellow Colchester man. Yes, I'm an Essex boy. Big up, my bro. Thanks for being there and here and supporting. Much appreciated. Appreciated. We're going to leave it there, guys. Make sure you smash a like on this video. We are literally, I tell you this now, we are around about 60 from 14K. Please, please do me a favor. There's nearly 400 of you in here now. Press the like button. Come out of the chat. Press the like button. It's like that. You all know it. It's free. It helps the channel. And then hit subscribe. All I need is 60 people to do that out of the 400 of you. And I hit 14K tonight before I finally go to sleep, which is what Patrick is telling me to do because I've been streaming all day and I'm absolutely knackered. It's been a long one, but I wanted to jump on and have to talk about this news that's just come in. So, of course, let's see what happens in the coming days. Window is open. Arsenal in Dubai. It's time at the moment for Edu to look at who he wants to get in to the Arsenal in the next few weeks, because it's only open for literally until, of course, February starts. So it won't be open for very long at all. We've only got 2 games in that time, Palace and Forest. And I really hope the news is correct about Partey and Jesus being back for the Nottingham Forest game, because that means literally we have 1 game and then we've got those 2 side players back, which means that it will just be Timber who's in long-term injury list, which I believe is going to be fit around about February. So it'd be brilliant to have those guys fit. We're out of here, people. Take it easy. We'll see you next time, and up the Arsenal. Keep posted. Keep watching. Do not let this one slip. Let's see what happens with Arsenal if they go in again for another one. Let's see what happens. In a bit, people. Peace. I'm out of here.